couple of very interesting speakers here, and I want to introduce them to you to talk about a very interesting case here. LeShea Agnew's case is one which illustrates the terrible injustice of cannabis prohibition, and she's lucky to have a very dedicated and effective attorney working for her. So we want to start out with attorney Mr. Justin Meehan. Please welcome Justin.
How's everybody doing? Nice to be here today. My name is Justin Meehan. I'm an attorney. I work for myself, and I have had enough. I no longer am interested in pleading people guilty or getting them SISs. I'm not interested in that anymore. I've prepared a document that I'm using that I file in every case to put the judges and the prosecutors' nose right in it. Right now, the laws, the enforcement of marijuana law, particularly in Illinois and Missouri, are so vastly discriminatory, and they're completely accounted for by Department of Transportation statistics, FBI statistics, local criminal statistics. There's no question that if you're black in Missouri and Illinois, you're more likely to be stopped, you're more likely to be searched, you're more likely to be charged. I wanted to talk a little bit about the discrepancies as you go from St. Louis City to St. Charles. Is a completely different set of rules that you're going to encounter if you get stopped. I want to also talk about the collateral consequences. They may tell you an SIS is a great deal and that's as good as it's going to get, but what they don't tell you is that's going to prevent you from getting certain jobs. They'll tell you it's a closed record. It's not. There's numerous collateral consequences to an arrest and being charged with a marijuana offense. So I'm very much interested in doing everything that I can. Now I want to introduce you to LeShea Agnew. She's a young lady who I've met recently. She's a former NPR reporter from New York who had the misfortune of driving through Belleville. She's going to tell you her story, and I want to suggest a possible new approach to dealing with marijuana arrests, and also talk about the discrepancies in enforcement. So I'd like very much to introduce you to LeShea Agnew, and here she is. Oh, and I want to say thanks to Dan. It's an honor to be up here. I mean, nobody's fought harder, longer, or more effectively than he has. So I'm very excited to be even at the same table as him. He's the leader, and we all look to him for advice and ideas and direction. So he's dedicated himself to serving the people and minimizing the negative effects of minor marijuana. So we both want to thank him for being here with us today.
I guess I've been asked to stand because I'm a little short. So my name is LeShea Agnew. I am from New York. I started out in North Carolina. I worked very, very hard to establish myself as a broadcast journalist. I was a producer. I was a host of All Things Considered, Morning Edition, Weekend Edition. I've reported on every topic you can think of. I had a talk show in New York that was similar to Diane Rehm. I've interviewed giants, Dr. Maya Angelou, Bell Hooks, Gloria Steinem, Diane Rehm, Cokie Roberts. So again, I worked very hard in the past 10 years to establish myself, and then I decided to drive through Belleville. I was on the way to a dinner, or actually it was a lunch with some friends. So I was dressed comfortably. Afternoon, Monday, I'm driving down Main Street, the main street, and I was pulled over thinking nothing of it. Maybe I have an out brake light or something. So he immediately walks up and identifies himself as members of a drug task force. They're dripping with guns, vests, big, tall guys, and he said, "You are in a high drug traffic area. That's the reason I stopped you. And tell us what's in the car, because we know something's in here." So now I'm confused because I live on this street. I had just relocated from New York. I was hoping to continue reporting in St. Louis and Illinois, and I live on Main Street. I was about 2 blocks from my house, actually. So I told him I live here, so I don't know how this is a high drug traffic area. I'm from New York. I know what that looks like. Didn't pick that spot here in Belleville. And he said, well, prove to me, you know, that you live here. So I reached into my bag, but before I could even produce anything really, I was pulled out of the car, forced to bend over the front of his patrol car hood, and I was searched thoroughly by a male officer. I had loose clothes on, I had a t-shirt, sweatpants, you know, I'm just going to go have lunch at someone's house. He found nothing, and then immediately began to search my vehicle. Didn't ask for consent, didn't say anything about what he was hoping to find. He just kept saying, we're not new to this, just tell us, let's cut the riffraff, tell us what's here, because we're going to find it anyway. Nothing. They searched my car about 3 times. And then he just said, put your hands behind your back. And I'm sitting in the back of the police car still asking what happened. No rights read, nothing shown, nothing explained. So I'm sitting in the back seat, they're ignoring me and they're going, don't worry, the dash cam recording caught everything. Oh, great, that's gonna save me. Okay, wonderful. So I shut up and I took the ride. So now as a reporter, I'm thinking, I got a heck of a story. And I get to detainment, and I was placed in the holding cell with my handcuffs still on. This is my first arrest. I've never even been to the principal's office as a kid, so this is already over me, you know? So I'm trying not to freak out, remember everything that's happening, so once I get out, I can be recovered from this. So I'm there in the holding cell with my handcuffs on. A young lady was brought in. They stripped me down to nothing but my t-shirt, had no shoes on. It was cold. She got to keep her hoodie on. She was playing Angry Birds in the holding cell. Besides, I kid you not, I had no phone, no nothing. I made my call. And then, without warning, they moved me to an isolated cell, an actual cell. No lights, it was dark, and I sat there for hours, waiting to get out. Still, no one told me why I was there. So once I'm signing the release form and everything to get my stuff back and to leave, I got the ticket, a misdemeanor ticket that says, you were knowingly in possession of cannabis, less than 2.5 grams. It's about a joint. But he said it was in the bag that I went into to get all my paperwork to prove where I live, my license, my registration, all of that information. Again, it was never shown to me. I've never seen it to this day. We requested the dash cam footage as soon as I met Justin, who was a saving grace, and they destroyed that tape.
What?
They said that they only keep them for 60 days. No, it's 90 days. We requested it within 30. They destroyed it anyway. So we're fighting it. This huge booklet here was my defense. Justin, again, incredible attorney. 300-page defense. They took one look at it, dismissed it moments before we walked in for trial on Wednesday of this week. So all charges are dropped. Thank goodness. Thanks to Justin. Now, I did, of course, write about this. It's called Green Handcuffs. It's in the St. Louis American. I thank Show Me for putting it in there. My testimonial is in there. I encourage you to read it, share it. This has energized me to take a step back from reporting and not just be the voice of the community, but be the voice of this problem. My life stopped. It cost me $1,300 to get my car out of impound, to get out of jail, and fees that I had to pay. $1,300. I lost 2 job offers. I have not worked since. I couldn't pass a background check. It was still pending, so no one would touch me. I'm well qualified, but no one would touch me. So I'm trying to dig myself out of this hole, all because I was driving through Belleville on an afternoon. The police report said I was stopped because I was driving with no headlights and no windshield wipers going in the rain. No headlights at 2 in the afternoon, and it was supposedly raining. So apparently I'm trying to kill myself because I don't know how you can do that. How can you drive obstructing your own visibility, you know? And of course, when he walked up to the car, he said nothing of the sort. We only talked about drugs and where it was. So I'm hoping to take this stand, and I'm hoping that you'll help me. This is new. I'm on the other side of the mic, and I want to continue this effort because this has to stop. My livelihood, my career, everything that I worked very hard for, a joint ended all of that. Again, a joint I wasn't smoking, a joint I didn't see. So if you can help me, let's talk afterwards. Let me know how I can help move this movement forward. I am happy and willing to put myself, regardless of the consequence, because if it can happen to me, someone who is in the public eye, It can happen to anyone, and we are all at risk until no one is at risk. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for hearing my story. I won't take up too much time. Justin has some incredible statistics. And again, let's talk afterwards. Help me move this movement. Thank you.
Now, you can also read her story on the Show Me Cannabis website. I see they're handing out what I've been doing, which is summarizing the developments in the decriminalization of marijuana laws, both in Illinois and Missouri, but I do mention Washington, D.C. and a few other places. My thought was twofold. One, the statistics are so clear that blacks are singled out and subjected to selective, I call it persecution, on a regular basis in almost every state, that this in and of itself ultimately could be the basis for an appeal. Now, this is a minor marijuana case. With a minor marijuana case, oftentimes you can get an SIS or get the charge reduced, but you're still going to have an arrest record, and even with an SIS, it's going to follow you around. One of the interesting things with the there's a drug program that's available in Missouri. If a person gets arrested, let's say with a felony amount of drugs, they can go into the program, and at the completion of the program, which is about a year, their charges will be dismissed and their record will be expunged. You can't do that if you got a marijuana arrest. And people are sitting on these marijuana arrests. That's kind of why I was asking the gentleman earlier about how they get this funding. Like, for instance, in Chicago, Chicago leads the nation in the amount of minor marijuana arrests, leads the nation. But it also leads the nation in another, and this is even in spite of the fact that the Board of Aldermen or whoever up there have offered to allow minor marijuana to be like a ordinance offense. But while the police lead, the Chicago police lead the country in minor marijuana arrests, they are last in the country for arrests for manufacturing, distribution, the serious offenses. And marijuana always makes up 50% of everything. It seems to me that if you're a policeman in the drug task force, it's just like shooting fish in the barrel. You just wait for a black person to drive by and you stop them, and you're going to find either drugs or guns or something. That's the idea. Now, the lies that they'll then put into the police report afterwards to justify the search. In this case, it was two things. One, she had her license plates affixed in the rear, but not in the front. There was no, her car from North Carolina didn't require the front license plate, but it was in their trunk. They used that as a basis for arresting her. They also said that she didn't have her headlights on. This is 2 in the afternoon. Yeah, it was drizzling, but there's really no reason for somebody in the drug task force to feel so important about front license plates and weather conditions that they would use those as the basis for narcotics arrests. It's easy to sit on the corner of, in this case it was Maine, and just stop black folks and eventually get people that you can charge with possession. You don't have to draw your gun, you don't have to chase anybody, but on the drug task force you'd think normally in my other cases I see, well, first thing they'll do is say, well, if you want us to drop the case, show us who you got it from. Here this was less than, what was it, a cigar or something? Not a joint. All right. Somebody else had left these cigarillos or something in the car, and somebody else had, because she shared the car with 2 other people. But the point is, you can sit around harassing people all day without accountability, and you don't have to work at all. You don't have to chase anybody, you don't have to solve the backlog in murders, you don't have to shut down the meth plants or the heroin distributors. You just sit there and find people like LeShea Agnew and because they're black and because they're easy, you get your marijuana arrest. I do believe that the amount of arrests and sometimes the quantity will affect the kind of money you can get either from the federal or the state. I may be wrong about that. But my approach now is this. There's so much good information. I really am excited about this, and it's all online. The ACLU did a wonderful, wonderful study of statistics provided to the Department of Transportation's in all the states, because they're required to keep this information and present it. The FBI drug statistics, the local drug statistics, they did a study called The War on Marijuana in Black and White. I really urge you to take a look at this. What it does is it breaks down the statistics, and wherever you go, you're going to find out that black people are more likely to, 3 times, 4 times, sometimes 7 times more likely to be arrested, searched, and prosecuted. Now, they did offer LeShea the opportunity, well, if you want to do 100 hours of community service and pay $1,000, you can throw in the towel and that'll be it. I really admired LeShea. A lot of the times when I'm representing somebody, the primary concern is how can I get this over as fast and as quickly and as cheaply as possible. Now this was a pro bono case for me. I was very interested in helping her. And I really admire and appreciate the fact that she was willing to say, I understand that if I do this, now all of a sudden everybody's going to know NPR reporter LeShea Agnew has been arrested for marijuana. But she saw, her description gives you a sense of what it feels like. But she also extrapolated to all the other people who are going to have to undergo this. So she is offering herself as a resource to humanize the statistics that we see. The 5-page handout I gave you, it should also include what are the collateral consequences. In other words, once you plead guilty or are arrested for a minor marijuana offense, what are the million things that can change? Things such as now you can't apply for a federal loan in order to do your education. Now you can't get federal housing. Now you can't work in certain positions. So what I've been thinking about and trying to do more of, and it doesn't always endear me, and is loading up the judge and the prosecutor with everything I can find. What are the collateral consequences? Including this 100-page ACLU report. Laying the groundwork for what could be an appeal. But at the same time, I'm also massaging the judge and the prosecutor to take what is going to be partially a moral stand on their part. I mean, who gives a damn about 2 grams of marijuana? Only cities who see black people as walking ATM machines. And this is part of the reason why I think, by the way, be sure to check out these statistics on Ferguson. They are online. I just ran into them the other day. I don't know if the ACLU pulled it out, but if you're interested, let me know. You can see why they're in the position they are. But of course, honestly, we're all Ferguson, so this is just, we did this in the 60s, they wrote the Kerner Commission, nobody followed it, and here we are again. But I do believe that the continued criminalization of minor marijuana is creating an underclass. I actually believe that is purposely creating an underclass, disenfranchising young people, African Americans, and making sure that they're going to have greater difficulty getting jobs, greater difficulty getting an education, all the things we want people to be able to do, and impoverishing them with fines and hours of community service and time spent in jail. Why? Why? What possible reason is there? Aren't there enough crimes that demand more consideration? So I offer you the summary I have, and if you feel that you can add to it, please let me know. But what I'm suggesting is that when people are arrested for minor marijuana, that instead of just rolling over, they begin the process of educating and confronting the system and forcing them to take into account, do we really want to try this case? By the time we had presented all of this information, of course they didn't call ahead of time to say, hey, don't bother coming down. It wasn't until we walked into court that we, they threw the towel in without them having to look us in the face. So on a case like a minor marijuana, I think going the extra effort puts pressure on the system, and it also forces a moral dilemma. So this is what I wanted to mention. And then be sure to look at the records and statistics. But now I'll turn it over to Dan. If you guys have any questions, be happy to answer them. Thank you very kindly, and have a nice day.
Well, yeah, we've got about 7 minutes here to take questions, and I think Justin and I would also be, I'm sure, happy to take questions generally about how we would advise people to deal with the police in situations like the one that LeShea did her best to deal with. So are there any questions or any comments anyone wants to offer? Yes, sir.
I just want to know, and I haven't seen, are there any research statistics showing white arrests and drops, or drops of the minor marijuana possession versus black arrests and drops of the minor marijuana possession?
There are statistics that will show the difference in traffic stops, whether it's speeding or whatever. If you're black, you got more. There are statistics to show how many so-called consent searches. It's all in black and white. Be sure to read this ACLU thing. This is why I feel so strongly about it. I mean, here Belleville is going to be one of the biggest producers of marijuana in the Midwest. They're going to be making money hand over fist, but they got time to waste on a minor marijuana case. The statistics are so clear, and they come from, not from me, but from the FBI, from the reporting agencies, from the Department of Transportation. When you see the statistics, it's so clear. That's why I feel filing these kind of things ahead of the trial, there's no one who can argue that this isn't true. These are self-reporting oftentimes by the law enforcement itself. I'll share more with you maybe after. Yes. Yes.
This is not a question. I don't want to say this, but I kind of feel obligated. Having been to Ferguson a few times and having friends involved and so on, there's a phrase in St. Louis. It's a, if you will, colloquialism, and it's said in the white community. It's like, it's okay, I'm white. That is to say, if I'm driving with grass or driving with a buzz, and I've heard it more than once. I've said it more than once. I don't say it in a racialist context or in a lack of love for anyone of any skin color, but the fact that is a common factual cliche in the city is disgusting.
The other thing is the marijuana usage is equal black and white. I mean, it's not like black people smoke more marijuana. It's equal. And oftentimes, in the good old days, the guy would maybe smack you on the back of the head, take the bag and throw it in the garbage and say, hey, look, don't do that anymore. Why is it so important that all of a sudden justice in America demands immediate criminal sanctions for minor marijuana? Who benefits from this? Don't we have more important things to do? There's no question that there's a racial disparity, but I mean, in the old days, they would just say, hey, kid, maybe the cop might even keep the marijuana for himself. Why do they have to go through a criminal system where all of a sudden they are going to suffer the collateral consequences?
I'd like to offer an unfortunate partial answer to that. If you look, starting with the Reagan administration, I mean, how he tripled the prison population, how it's just been, the graph's gone like that. Since, I think that it's been over a generation that within the prison system and the cities and the police forces, that once this was catalyzed, the crack cocaine thing, or just cracking down on drugs and so on, imprisoning people of color or poor people, it's become partially ingrained in the culture.
Well, why doesn't Obama do anything about it? He's already said
I don't know how to answer that. I'm just saying it's
less
disgusting.
dangerous than alcohol. Attorney General Holder says we should take marijuana off the Schedule
Right.
1 list, but they don't do anything about it. I mean, insofar as the marijuana is concerned, and I feel that he's over with now. But on his way out, he ought to legalize visas to Cuba and decriminal and take marijuana off the Schedule 1. I mean, it's complete. Yeah, that would be. Then I feel a lot better about him. There's no way that marijuana should be on Schedule 1. Yes, young lady, are you raising your hand?
Yeah. Is this like a situation where you would consider filing a wrongful arrest or detainment?
Well, I talked to two people. One is my buddy LeShea, who I admire so much. We're going to do it. I don't care. The only other, because I mean, what it comes down to is you can't sue the police and municipalities for negligence. But if you can identify they deprived you of one of your constitutional Bill of Rights, freedom from unlawful search and seizure. But I want to talk to Dan about it first. He is the mastermind. And the last thing I'd want to do is make bad law. So I'd like to ask Dan if he thinks that these statistics might lay the basis for a federal Civil Rights Act, which I'm going to file anyway, in the future.
Yes.
Dan's first.
I want to ask him one more thing. Will you help us with it?
I'll try.
Good enough. Yeah.
This isn't a question, this is another comment, but as a college student who actually prefers to sit in my room and read statistics, which I don't know if college students actually like to do that, even I miss some things, and I'm not as informed as I would like to be, and I spend a lot of my time doing this. So I actually just wanted to thank you for coming out and
Could you speak loudly, please?
Sorry, and share your story and, you know, to kind of out yourself, even if it is not the best image for you, to go ahead and take that step, because I think that reaches a lot more people. The statistics, I mean, they're statistics, but it really helps to hear that. So thank you for that.
Ms. Ira?
For those of you who asked about whether there's a place where you can find all those statistics on the arrest and the discriminatory arrests and the racial disparities, the best place to do that is a website called marijuanaarrests.com. That is something that's been set up by a man named Harry Levine in New York, who was the author of all of those reports that Justin was talking about, and all of the stuff, that ACLU report, state by state stuff, it's all on there on that website, and you can download it as a PDF and you can read it online. But it's marijuana-arrests.com, and it'll give you everything you need for those of you who love to look at statistics.
Yeah, I want to give you I'm going to try to make it the 60-second version of my lecture that I often give at much greater length about what to do when you encounter the police. And it seems to me the essence of it is use your Miranda rights. We all know we have the Miranda. We all know the Miranda warning by heart, but so many people just don't seem to think it really means anything, and it does. And if you use those rights, a lot of people come to me and say, I bet you hear this, Justin, that, oh, they didn't read me my rights, so you can get this dismissed, right? Well, no, it's not the reading of the rights that matters near as much as you exercising those rights. Don't matter if they read them to you or not, you always have those rights. The cops don't bestow those rights on you when they read them to you. You always have those rights. You always have the right to remain silent. You don't have to say anything to the police. Number two, if you do say something, they're going to use it against you. You know, so like if you number one, you could be silent. Number two, if you're not silent, they're going to use it against you. The logical conclusion is be silent. Don't talk to the police. Now, I know that's hard to do in a literal sense, and when you're stopped and you're driving, you do have to show your license. But you don't have to say where you're going, and you don't have to say what you're doing, and you certainly don't have to consent to a search. And if they begin to interrogate you, right number 3 comes into play, and that's, I want a lawyer. You know, after they arrest you, they may tell you, you have the right to a lawyer. Well, you always have the right to a lawyer. You always have the right to speak to an attorney before you decide whether to speak to the police. And when you say, I want a lawyer, they're not going to bring a lawyer to you. They're not going to say, oh, here, let me find one for you. They are, however, very aware. Every police officer in America knows that he or she is supposed to stop asking questions when you say, do you want a lawyer? So that's my short version of what we should do when we have close encounters with law enforcement.